we're seeing. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what companies want, how you can give and get more from these relationships, and then what I think the future holds. So first, a little bit about what companies want. Now, I know this is hard to read, so what I did was I actually put it online. But this is what I call the virtuous cycle of employee cause engagement. And it is a cycle, because it feeds back into itself. And the big goal for companies is to increase with employee volunteering and donating, they want to get a lot of different benefits out of this. One of them is this improves their community engagement, which improves their public relations. This also results in increased employee engagement and lengthens retention. That's something that they can measure. It could also, if you do mentoring programs, build an applicant pipeline. Really important. We heard about that earlier. This can increase job candidate interest, so getting more people in. If you're doing the right kind of volunteer opportunities, it can, especially board service is a great example of this. It builds skills and is a type of leadership training. Ultimately, this can lead to improved profitability and higher market cap. We've seen studies showing this, that 30% of a company's market cap is directly related to their standing in the community. And if you're tracking and measuring all this stuff, it results in increased investment in the program, which feeds back into the cycle. And there's more that you could add to this, of course, but this I think gives you a good way of thinking of what companies, how they're thinking about this. And this is what they want. They want ROI. And increasingly, they're going to be demanding it and measuring it internally. So again, I think kind of just the few top pillars, the top lines of this is improved recruiting and retention, as I touched on. Improved communications, not just externally, like through Twitter and Facebook and things like that, but also especially reflecting back to the employees the good that they've done. And even the employees that were not able to participate in it, really increases the value of the internal communications. And as I touched on earlier, skills building and leadership development. So how can you as an organization start to leverage this? And again, with some of the smaller companies, they're at such a preliminary sophistication level that some of the things I'm going to say are kind of it's a little bit obvious. But except for this one, it's creating a progression of opportunities. So you've got really these kind of entry-level things, and they're good to have, and it's very important. And that's going to be the base level that's going to get some folks to start to participate. But what do they do after that? What do they do after they've painted that room in your office? And don't make them paint that room, but what do they do after they've built the house? Is there something more in depth that they can get into? And I think board service is so much higher than that. You're not going to get people going from painting to jumping to board service. But are there things that you can create in the middle that help folks get more involved and more engaged? And I think there's an interesting trend starting now too, and some of this existed in prep schools, but it's now being brought into the corporations, the idea of a junior board, where you don't have to make an enormous financial commitment, but you still get to participate in the board. Maybe you help them do fundraisers. That's something that we're starting to get involved with at CauseCast. So that's one really important thing to do. The other thing is to learn how to tell good stories. And companies will do some storytelling on their own, but to jumpstart them, I think it's really important when a company volunteers or gives you to be able to tell stories of impact and reflect that back to the company and do it through public channels. And they will be compelled to start to spread that word as well. They don't always know the impact. They're not always told what it is, and I think it's really important for you as an organization to learn how to tell good stories. And the reason I have Billion Plus Change up there, this is an initiative of Points of Light Foundation. They exist to tell stories about service, especially around skills-based volunteering. And so I think they're a good example, they're a good place to go to find out how you can just kind of use them as a template. Taking photos. Again, companies will do this if they remember, and obviously then they should deputize somebody in the company to do it, but just in case they don't, take your own, and then you can get photos of everybody. And again, share it everywhere, especially back with the company and out into social media. And again, this seems very simple, but a lot of the companies coming on board are not thinking to do these things, and we want to get them really excited about this. And that really shows them an ROI right away. They think, and they're not wrong about this, but seeing something on Twitter, they can see that, oh, look, our employee tweeted about us, or this organization tweeted about us, and the employee pushed it out again. That's a real thing we can point to. So here's what I think the future holds for this space. I mean, the tools and the services are going to continue to improve, and I think we're seeing a lot of that here today. The evolution of the space and the kind of services that you're providing at America's Charities, along with the tools that we're able to provide, are going to really help move the space forward. But companies are going to continue to expect more out of these relationships, and I think it's quite possible for you to do it without overwhelming yourself. And organizations are going to continue to give more value and get a lot more in return. And I think we're going to be able to start to get at a lot of that money that's left on the table. And, as a result of this, relationships are going to really start to deepen, and companies and organizations are going to consider each other true partners, which we've talked about tons today. And so, in summary, I think that the company's main goal is improving recruiting and retention, the main one that they can actually, measure. That's the one they always come to us about. Like, we can't hire people, we can't find these. Millennials will not come to us because they don't think, they think we're a corporate good guy, and we need to really show that. You can really start to leverage these new tools to compile and share your great stories. It's really important. And then deepen these relationships. And I think the future is all about building trust, and you're going to have a lot of deep, long-term relationships with these companies. So thank you.